go.
Let me hit this good link.
Bobby Lashley is our WWE champion, but in 3 weeks' time, he is to defend it in the Elimination Chamber. Is this the signs of a transitional champion? We're going to talk about it in just a second, so stay tuned. This is WrstlXtra. Yo. This is WrstlXtra. I am your boy, A Dazzle, the Black Wrestling Advocate, alongside my tag team partner, Mex, the WrestleManiac, if you will. And of course, the faction member, the faction show host, Gerard Bonner. Let me start by saying it's the 1st of the month.
Yes,
it is the 1st of February, which means, of course, as well, it's Black History Month. So let's get ready. As you can see, I've got the shirt on. You know what I mean? The Black History, Someone Like Me t-shirt. You can get it on Pro Wrestling Tees or something like that. Anyway, let's get into it. It is Black History Month. We have a new WWE champion who is also black. I don't know if Vince did that on purpose. But Bobby Lashley. You know what's crazy though, actually? You know what's crazy? Very almost every year since I've been doing this page, it's been like 4 maybe 5 years now. Every single year I get the comments, or whenever Black History Month is ever mentioned, you always get the comments of, oh, that means we're gonna have black champions and da. And when I check it, we actually have more champions in like April and June than we ever do in February. So I'm like, where do you get this information from? But now we've got a black WWE champion the day before. So I'm like, all right, maybe these are right. I don't know. I don't know. But this is where we are. Bobby Lashley is a first ever two-time WWE champion. Under circumstances that are questionable, unfortunately. We waited for 12, some say 20 years in the making, for the Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar clash. Finally got it this past Saturday at the Royal Rumble. Match started out fine. It was very Lesnar Goldberg-esque in, the one-upmanship when it comes to two big guys, and one did a suplex, another one did a suplex, one did a clothesline, the other one did a clothesline. You know what I mean? All of that kind of testing of power and all the rest of it, which was great, which was good to see. It got us excited. Eventually, Brock Lesnar kind of, took advantage, sent Bobby Lashley to Suplex City. He looked like he was about to break his arm half the time, the way Bobby Lashley was landing. But then, of course, we saw Bobby Lashley put the Hurt Lock in. Brock Lesnar could not get out. Obviously, done some, shady tactics, squashed the referee. We all got the referee was out, and then 2-2s. The Tribal Chief decides that his match with Seth Rollins wasn't enough action. He came out and did what he did to Brock Lesnar, allowing Bobby Lashley about 5 minutes after Roman Reigns has hit Brock Lesnar with the belt. Bobby Lashley pins Brock Lesnar, who is now the new champion. And I say that with the most amount of disappointment. To see Lashley as the champion is beautiful, brilliant, and all the rest of it. But the disappointment is that it was done in the way that it was. And even if they had Roman Reigns interfere just to save Brock Lesnar, because, we're going on to Reigns and Lesnar eventually, and you still want to keep the beast looking like a beast and all that good stuff. But at least let Lashley spear him or hurt lock or something. Not pin him like 5 minutes after he's been hit with the belt for an easy 3 count. But this is where we are. We'll talk about Royal Rumble. I'm gonna go to Gerard first. Gerard, give me your view on that match itself, and then we'll move into talking about the pay-per-view. Yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to be the odd man out here. I loved the match.
Okay.
I
Okay.
thought I thought the match was nearly perfect. And I'll tell you why I thought that. First of all, the build up to the match was massive. I mean, going all the way back to day one when these guys first touched, which seemed like it was on accident because of Roman, of course, catching COVID. Now,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, WWE's making $1 out of 15 cents, right? Like, I love this idea that all of a sudden Lashley and Brock are touching, and wow, we're going to have a thing. I thought it was too early to do it at the Rumble. I thought it was going to happen
Okay.
perhaps at Mania, because this is a Mania quality match if you're going to put 100,000 people in AT&T. But we
Mm.
got it at the Rumble. And I love the package up to it. I love the lead up to it. If you're
Mm-hmm.
going to have a pay-per-view for WWE on a Saturday night and you want it to have a big fight feel, these are the two guys you have in there for a first time ever kind of match.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the match went off very well. And in terms of the overall larger story, I figured that Roman would somehow be involved in this. The turn with Roman and Paul Heyman was brilliant. Nobody really saw that part coming.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, why I thought it landed well is everybody won. Brock still comes out now looking for this feud with Roman. There's a real big reason behind it. Paul Heyman has turned on him. And in the middle of it, you've got Bobby Lashley once again becoming champion. I didn't think Lashley looked weak in this at all. This is one of those few matches where both guys come in so strong. The funny thing about wrestling and sports in general is for it to be deemed match of the year or a great match, it has to exceed our predetermined expectations, right? So, here in the States, the NFL getting ready for the Super Bowl, these games, people are like, this is the underdog, this team is great, but they got to play the game. And when they play the game, something happens and boom, wow, this is competitive.
Mm.
I think Brock and Bobby Lashley were very competitive. They had great moments against each other. And I didn't think that the Roman thing marred it at all. I think it continued with the story. Now, I'm actually far more worried about the Elimination Chamber, which we'll get to, than I was with what happened with Brock and Bobby Lashley. So for me, it was actually that, and of course, the Universal title match were my highlights of the night. We'll talk about the rest of it later. But in terms of Bobby and Brock, I loved it. And yeah, it worked for me. I thought it was great.
Mex, how would you have that match end? If it were up to you, how would you have done it differently?
Like Gerard said, I'm not against Roman coming in and doing whatever he did. Like, I never believed this match would finish clean in the first place. As confident as I was that Bobby was leaving as champion, I knew there would be some type of shenanigans. And funny, and a big up on Nafi from Wrestlings. The minute the referee bump happened, we were both in a bar watching it. We looked at each other and we said, shenanigans. Like, there is going to be shenanigans. And here it was. This was the window. So Roman coming in doesn't really irk me or anything. I didn't see the realignment with Paul Heyman happening, so that was a pleasant surprise. But for me, Bobby Lashley still had to beat Brock Lesnar beyond what Roman did. Whether he's put him in a hurt lock and Lesnar just passes out or something. He literally crawled to the pin after Roman did what he did. Other referee came flying in, and that was it. So even in, Roman assisting him, there still just wasn't that kind of dominant punctuation on it, which, that annoyed me because, it just looked like, okay, he's kind of like slithery heel. He just done what he needed to do. And then that was punctuated then by when Lesnar entered the Rumble number 30, he literally walked in as if this is him for the night. Like, we usually see people kind of have that second attempt in the Rumble and they're holding their ribs, or they're selling some sort of thing if they've had a match earlier on. Lesnar walked out like this was his match for the night. Like, he hadn't done anything before. He never sold anything. I'm pretty sure he was smiling when he walked into the Rumble. So, for me, it was just the fact that Bobby had to punctuate something to make this his win. This was very much, you know, Roman helped him to the victory. And yeah, WWE sold us on this match that these guys were equals. Both had, you know, wrestling backgrounds from high school, you know, MMA and all of that kind of stuff. These guys are nothing but equals in aesthetic because they are not booked as equals. You know, it's Lesnar and Reigns and everybody else. Lashley could have easily been put into that kind of category with a big performance at a Royal Rumble, which I don't think what we got. And yeah, they just see him as equal because he looks, you know, they got all the same muscles and stuff like that, and that's about it.
They've got all the same muscles. I love it.
Interesting.
I kind of see in a very similar way. I mean, obviously you've got I mean, even Brock Lesnar said it in their first verbal exchange. Let's read what NK said actually real quick. NK says WWE Championship is a second tier belt at the moment. Roman literally threw the belt after the match. Very true. I can't celebrate the win. The moment was a statement to WWE. Lashley isn't that guy.
So can I speak to that? I think what we have here is a unique problem, right? First of all, I think we all have to acknowledge that right now, between Raw and SmackDown, SmackDown's the top tier show. And that's because it's on Fox. There's more money connected to it. The ratings are better. It's network TV versus cable TV. So there's that. They've stacked SmackDown with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, massive stars. Charlotte Flair, massive stars, right? If we look at, and this is what's so ironic about this, if we go back to a year ago, March of 2021, when Lashley won the WWE Championship, everybody was happy, but who did he beat? He didn't beat Drew, who was the guy who was, you know, the long reigning champion from Mania. He beat The Miz, right? So, of course, he's going to squash The Miz. If it's a competitive match, now Lashley really looks horrible, right? I think we have to acknowledge a couple of things. In terms of the WWE title being a second-tier title, I don't want to say that, but I think they are elevating the Universal Championship simply because of who's holding it. Think about this. When they announced Roman Reigns coming to the ring and they announced the reign of his championship, they usually would separate the reign of the lineage of the Universal title and the lineage of the WWE title. They literally said he's had the 5th longest reign of a world champion ever. And then they cited all former WWE champions, Pedro Morales and Hogan and Bruno Sammartino. And I'm sitting here going, wait, when did the Universal Championship, which has only been around at this point 6-7 years, become as prestigious as the WWE Championship? So I think NK actually has a point that the WWE title isn't being viewed as high, but this is part of the problem of having two brands in WWE because it's like having a two-headed monster, right? Who is your real number one guy? It's got to be one of these champions. And the problem is the emphasis isn't being put on the title, it's being put on the person. And so so mind you, if Roman had the WWE title and Brock and Roman, and let's even go further, we didn't have this second tier conversation just 5 days ago when Brock was the WWE champion. That wasn't the conversation. So now we have to ask ourselves another conversation. Why then would we assume that that Bobby Lashley is a second tier champion when he beat Brock Lesnar for a title that when Brock Lesnar held it, nobody questioned its prestige? I could answer that question for you, but you don't want me to do that. I mean, the writing is clearly on the wall.
No, at the same time, though, I do think it's booking. It's like we're saying, like,
Sure.
Lashley was booked like almost to perfection with that first title run.
Right.
Absolutely.
But we know it's just booking. Like they've proved. I feel like they proved it at the Royal Rumble with how they just booked that match. And like I say, Bobby should have really slaughtered Lesnar, in my opinion. What I don't know, Lesnar's Lesnar, but what we saw from day one between Bobby and Lesnar, just a few exchanges we saw, for me was more interesting than their match, because I personally wanted more of a kind of smash mouth, let's destroy everything around the ring, 10 minutes of chaos match between these two at Royal Rumble. I thought that's what we're gonna get, which would have been shades of what we saw from them in at day one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just feel like, you know, the booking, as you can see already, the story is still around Brock so much. Bobby, you know, which we'll get into, is now WWE champion. Immediately, they've put him into this elimination chamber, which just smells of, okay, you know, we can pin him, and oh my god, a new champion's gonna be crowned tonight, and all of this kind of stuff. Whoever that's gonna be, it just doesn't look good.
Let's go there. Let's go there. So we've got Bobby Lashley as the champion. We already know that he is defending his championship in the Elimination Chamber match. Brock Lesnar is already in that match. Now, Brock Lesnar made the statement. He made the statement. I was going to say it doesn't make sense, but he made the statement to say that he wants the match between him and Roman at WrestleMania to be champion versus champion. So he wants to win this thing, win back the championship at Elimination Chamber, even though he's already guaranteed and he's already kind of made the choice that he's facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Why? What's the point? Like, yes, champion versus champion is nice, it's cool, it's brilliant. But my thing is this, there's two things to this. My thing is, if that was the plan, or if that's been the plan for WWE for champion versus champion, why did Brock even lose it?
So I'm with you. I am very nervous. Watching Raw last night made me very nervous for this. But and I don't know what it is. I got this same kind of nervous when, you know, Lashley was supposed to defend at Mania last year, right? I was like, okay, here we go. Here we go. Because history has taught us, here we go, right? And I'm sure in Vince's mind, he's got Brock versus Roman, this cataclysmic battle, you know, title for title. The one thought that there's one thing that makes sense and another thing that doesn't. So you spend all this time building Raw and SmackDown as two separate brands, two separate world champions, to now have the two champions battle each other potentially in a title for title WrestleMania situation. So in my mind, I think, what happens after that? And here's what I think. And this may be going very far down the line, but I'm going to go here. If they unify the title, WWE's going for sale this year.
For sure.
It's that simple. It's that simple. All of this is about positioning WWE well, because here's the thing. In no other sport do you have two recognized world champions in the same organization. In the NFL, you might have the AFC conference and the NFC conference champion, but when you have that Super Bowl, we walk away talking about one champion. In the NBA, we talk about one champion. In soccer or football, as you guys call it, it's one champion, right? You know, there's not, okay, we both have rights to the title. And so for an outsider looking in, trying to purchase this, who's the guy? And the fact that we're trying to figure out, is Lashley the guy? Is Roman the guy? Is Brock the guy? You can't sell to investors with three people being the guy. Very true. If they go this route, this is a clear sign that WWE is going to be up for sale.
Very, very true.
That's a great point. My thinking was actually more towards your point before when you mentioned the lineage of the WWE title. I think they want to stick the WWE title on Roman because of the lineage. Obviously, the universe
Sure.
is very new and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I was somewhat even convinced it was going to be a case, especially when they, I heard the pay-per-view started, Roman's music hit first. My jaw dropped.
Mine
Roman's
too.
opening the show.
Right.
I said, my guy is losing the Universal title. My heart started beating out of my chest.
Oh, wow.
Honest, no, Roman is my guy. So
yeah.
That's fine. So I thought, okay, he's dropping the Universal title. Then maybe, the flip of what everyone thought, Brock retains, and then Roman wins the Rumble, and then Roman goes after that title. Because, again, the lineage. And I'm sure as a company, that's the belt they would prefer Roman to hold. And I've had this massive run he's on with. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. But I think the champion versus champion, I'm not sure whether they unify it or not. It is the biggest match. This is WrestleMania. It's the biggest match that they can put on, really and truly. So I think we see it.
I mean, going to your point about Roman starting the whole thing. And I'm only saying this because I just wanted to say just how amazing I thought it was to see Seth Rollins come out,
world class,
Shield music,
brilliant,
and then still have the whole visionary mannerisms and coming down, doing the whole little
world class.
Yeah,
I lost it. I lost it when that happened. I was just like, I was in a pub with my friend. It was just me and him. The only two black people in there, usual thing. And so we already stuck out. So when that happened, I was just jumping up and down, and everyone was just looking at me like, I mean, I'm sure they were as elated as I was in fans, of course. But man, I was just like, this is my guy. Seth Rollins really is that guy, and I really had I knew it wasn't going to happen, but I just had this feeling that there's a possibility he's going to beat Roman Reigns. How, I don't know. Why, I don't know. But after that entrance, I was just like,
yeah.
And the match was great. The ending was suspect, but at the same time, we got all these little Easter eggs of them more or less reenacting what happened with Seth and the Shield and Roman, kind of switching. They basically flipped positions and stuff.
Yeah.
It was just phenomenal. It was phenomenal.
It's funny as you mentioned that what I kind of gathered from it is, first of all, it was incredible. It was incredible, just incredible. But what it showed me is between Roman, Seth, Brock, Lashley, they really didn't care who won or lost. The winning and losing didn't matter. It was the bigger story, I mean, think about it. When's the last time we had a disqualification in a title match to start the show?
An opening
title matches as well, more or less.
You know what I mean? Like right. So it was more about telling the story of Roman being unraveled, how Seth got in his head, and how Roman's trying to pay Seth back, and there's not here's what's crazy. Seth technically won the match, but there's not even talk about a rematch between the two. Right. So it just proved to me they really just are interested in the story. The fact that the world, or that Brock being a champion, a former champion, is due a rematch, but then is going to go into the Elimination Chamber and declare that he's fighting for another title. None of that is exactly consistent, but it's a larger story thing about Brock, Roman. So I think the name of the game is they're trying to do stories, and they're not really concerned. And I guess it's, I'll bring up AEW. AEW's doing the win-loss thing. We've never seen a win-loss thing in WWE. The wins and losses don't necessarily matter as much.
Right. Yeah. But here was my thing, though. Like, it confused me as to why we had such almost an importance when it comes to the storyline of Roman and Seth. But yet the focus is still Roman and Brock.
Right.
So that confused me. So in a crazy way, though, they kind of had to do this whole thing with Seth to kind of almost fill a space, because when Roman went off with COVID, they had to just find something to do.
Right.
Obviously, Brock went and won the WWE Championship. Seth is still a Raw guy, and just for some whatever reason,
Right.
facing Roman Reigns. There was no reason to why it actually happened.
Right.
It just happened. So they made, I guess, the best of it, but at the same time, it's still kind of like confusing with the way it ended. If it was a thing where Roman defeated Seth, then we'd be like, all right, that chapter's done.
Right.
Go back to Brock. But
Right.
it's kind of left it open. What does that mean? Does it even mean anything? If it doesn't, it was a waste of time. If it does, it makes it interesting. If it wasn't for them announcing Elimination Chamber and Seth kind of jumping in there, a part of me was like, are we going to get a triple threat with Seth, Brock, and Roman? But
WWE, yeah, at the top of the card anyway, everyone always has to look strong. If they tell like more intricate stories, like we kind of saw with Roman and Seth, and then you can pick on somebody's weakness and then they lose a match, I think it makes sense. But WWE don't tell intricate stories. So when they're at the top of the card, everyone has to look strong. Hence why Roman and Seth never had a definitive, ending. Hence why Lesnar had to shenanigans helped him, help Bobby win the title. There's just not allowed to be any weakness, which then leaves us with these dusty finishes and these. It's like, okay, like we're saying, what's next for Seth and stuff? Seth was selling the fact that he was cheated and stuff on the KO show on Raw, but there was no talk of a rematch.
Right.
Like you say, like I doubt Roman even brings up the fact he faces Seth on SmackDown. Like they're just gonna all move on. Like it is what it is, isn't it?
It is what it is. Moving on. We're staying with the Royal Rumble, of course. Moving on to let's go through these two matches very quickly, because I don't know there's a lot to say, but I don't know if you even want to say it. I don't even want to waste our energy. But the two Royal Rumble matches. Let's start with the women's one, because the women's one was first on the card as well. We saw what we saw. Sasha Banks came out first. We all got excited. That excitement lasted like less than 10 minutes, I believe. And then everything else happened. Mex, just give me your synopsis on the way that match went and the eventual winner.
It started slow. Little did I know this was going to be the better of the two Rumbles on the night, but I wasn't happy with the start of it. Sasha Banks, I feel like there's something about her booking and stuff that feels she's a bit detached from WWE, and maybe she is literally off doing other things, her kind of Hollywood stuff and whatever the case is. Because if she's available, even why she appeared on SmackDown the night before, just bring her out on the Rumble. That is what the Rumble is for,
right?
The segment on SmackDown was irrelevant. Bring her out on the Rumble. She didn't last too long. Someone that, a lot of us would have thought would be at least Iron Woman candidate, if not to win the whole thing. As for other kind of, the Black Stars, we saw the return of Alicia Fox, which was cool. We saw the return of Cameron, which was cool, which played into, obviously, the Naomi storyline with Sonya Deville. Somehow that still continues despite Naomi beating her on SmackDown. I thought that was the end of it. Of course not. Bianca Belair came in. I think she had only one elimination, but she ended up being the Iron Woman of the match. So despite not giving her loads to do in the Rumble, they're still keeping her strong, keeping her, kind of lit in one way or the other. Ronda Rousey, the minute her music hits and the rumors are true, she's there, she's winning. Ronda, you don't pay Ronda Rousey whatever you're paying her to come and lose in the Royal Rumble. So yeah, it turned out to be the better of the two Rumbles. Not really saying much because the men's wasn't great, but as for some of our Black Stars, the talents in there, bit of a quiet one.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think the Sasha. Well, first of all, overall, WWE, what we love about the Rumble are surprises, are things that we couldn't plan for. And the idea that the Sasha thing was spoiled on SmackDown was like, huh?
Mm.
And then Sasha comes in at number 1 and is eliminated in 10 minutes flat. Like, what? So I'm with you. I'm kind of wondering, where's the Sasha Banks that main evented WrestleMania last year? I don't know where she is. And maybe, it's because she's shooting The Mandalorian and everything else that she's been doing, which that's the beauty and challenge of being a WWE superstar. When you get to a certain level of popularity, and I don't think they planned for this in any of the superstars they create. They don't plan for this, that you become so big that now, people see you in Hollywood and in other places, and the demand there is greater than it is for you to be in WWE. So I'm intrigued to see what's going on with that. I wasn't pleased, first of all, with their choice of legends. And even the term legend bothered me. Like, no disrespect to Cameron, Summer Rae, or some of these other people that they were tossing the term. They should use the term alumni. That's far better and far more accurate. You used to go here, but don't act like, you won championships here and you were the
True.
No, Summer Rae, you are not a legend. Sorry. Cameron, for all the things you said about WWE, you, ma'am, are not a legend. And Naomi clearly won in the Battle of the Funkadactyls. Now, why, of all people, you bring Cameron back for Sonya to get at Naomi? Are these the same people who told the story with Roman, Brock, and Paul Heyman? Come on. It doesn't make a lick of sense to me. So I was disappointed. Now, I will say the two things that I liked. I really liked, of course, seeing Mickie James wear the Impact Knockouts Championship. I mean, we knew it was coming, but, it's WWE. Like, are they really going to do it? That was massive. And then the other piece of the Forbidden Door that nobody's really talking about is Melina coming in from the NWA, which I'm like, that's a door I didn't expect to swing open. Now that door didn't stay open very long. She cried longer than she lasted in the Rumble, but I'm like, So, really, it was a bad day to be a legend for the WWE women because you didn't last long unless you were a Bella or you were a Lita or you were a McCool. Yeah. So and to your point, I think all of the fun left when we got to number 28 and Ronda Rousey coming out. And I don't like it. I don't.
Yes, you two have already mentioned like all the stuff that didn't really work and what didn't make sense too much and all that kind of stuff. When Sasha came out as number 1, I was like, yep, she's winning it.
Me too.
As soon as I saw her come out, I was like, yep, she's winning it because she's gonna do the whole from number 1 all the way to the end. Boom, let's go. Obviously, that didn't happen. The other three things for me that just didn't work. Mickie James coming out, fine, brilliant, amazing. Just at least give her a final 4, just for us to have something to talk about. You know what I mean? There was no way she was gonna win. Of course, you're not gonna let her win. Of course not. But still, just give us that. Just a bit that hope that there was a possibility are they actually gonna do this? Then when it comes to the legends, as loosely put, as Gerard said, there were more of those, I guess, returning females than there were current stars. That tells you everything. That tells you everything. There was definitely more than half were returning stars.
Wow.
Yeah. That's crazy. But then but when you stop and think, who actually is there to put current stars to put in the match? You're like, actually, they almost choose all of them anyway. So there wasn't that many current stars to put in there. And then the final thing was, of course, Ronda Rousey. And it's not necessarily just the fact that she was in it and she won. For me, it was just what it looked like. Ronda Rousey looked like she walked in. Like there's a clip of Ronda Rousey punching Bianca Belair in the corner, and the commentator says something about 40 minutes. I posted this on Twitter and I was like, it looks like Ronda Rousey was in there for 40 minutes and not Bianca Belair. Like, and she was in there for just over or just less than 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you allow her to. Anyway, moving on to the men's one.
Well, go ahead, because there's an interesting commonality between the two that I'm going to mention. Go ahead.
Okay. So we had the men's one, and the Mex has already said it wasn't even as enjoyable. I watched another review where they were saying how most of the guys that were in it were not people that you thought could possibly win. Guys like Rick Boogs and Mad Cat Moss and and then you had Omos, who we thought was going to eliminate a lot of people. Yes, we had the 6 men had to eliminate him, but I think he took out 3 or 4 people before that,
including Damian Priest.
The biggest surprise was Shane McMahon. Yeah. What was the point? Then Brock Lesnar comes in, already knows he's gonna win. Came in number 30, already knows he's gonna win, and we had what we had. What was the point?
Bro, this was the most mid-card Rumble ever. Like, no excitement, which is the entire point of a Rumble. There was I was doing a podcast yesterday with Talk Sports Alex McCarthy, and I was listing out the names I think that came between about 10 and 20 in the men's Royal Rumble. And Alex McCarthy said, I love every single one of those guys, but that is a shocking lineup to put back to back. And names were literally like Sheamus, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode, Rich Holland. Like literally, it's like it's what we see every week. Now, the women's was mixed with, the existing roster and legends, but mixed well. Like every other one was a legend or something like that. You see what I mean? The men's was dry in terms of top names until the number 20, where we started seeing Riddle come out, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Otis, just a bit more name value, if you like, was coming out in the last 10. Kevin Owens. The whole Rumble was tired, they sent out Omos, they done the whole big man spot, blah blah blah, and I'm just waiting I was racking my brain the entire time, like there has to be some names that they're gonna throw in here as a curveball. Like I still knew Lesnar is winning this thing, I knew it, but like give us some intrigue in this Rumble. And where I'll say the women's one was booked especially better than the men's was because the women's one, we had the stories of, the likes of Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH that was playing out on TV, and it was kind of paid off in the Rumble, and other stories, Naomi and Sonya, etc. Men's stories such as Street Profits and the Mysterios was never paid off. They've been throwing each other outside the ring for 3-4 weeks now. Rey Mysterio and Dominic weren't even in the Rumble at the same time. And there was other stories like Madcap Moss eliminated AJ Styles, who was currently the Iron Man. For what reason? They're not even on the same show. AJ Styles can't even avenge him. Like AJ Styles is now in the Elimination Chamber for the WWE title. These two are in 2 different complete realms. And this Rumble died for me. Absolutely died for me. The moment Kofi Kingston didn't pull off the Kofi Kingston. I can forgive him because obviously what he's doing is impromptu stuff that he has to get right on first time. He's done it for years, and this is just one mistake. But this Rumble was so bad. Kofi Kingston didn't pull off the annual Kofi Kingston spot. And WWE were as well. They're in control of the situation. It's their program, it's their product. They didn't have to show us a replay that he failed.
This is true.
You need to have the camera there.
They done it. The referee was kind of like, "Oh no, you're still in," until probably someone in his ear said, "No, camera caught it. Kofi's out," sort of thing. The Rumble was not good. For the story and everything, Lesnar won it. I don't mind. I'm quite happy. I thought it was going to happen anyway. Everything else before Lesnar was a train wreck, man.
It really, really was.
So the thing here that I'm realizing that we're missing, and this is the domino effect of NXT 2.0. They are to blame for this. Because think about this. Let's go back to 2020. 2020, we were excited because NXT, we had Keith Lee. You know, we had, I mean, like all of these insane guys. Riddle, of course, was coming from NXT back then. And then you had Edge make his, shocking return. We had these moments where we could have these ideas for matches. There was one year Ciampa was in there. And then on the women's side, you had Shayna Baszler and Rhea. And that's when we first saw Bianca, right? These NXT talents who added something different. We didn't get to see them regularly against Raw and SmackDown. Now that you've gutted NXT, that's now another pool of people you don't have to pull from. So because of that, we're stuck looking like a Royal Rumble in 1993, where half the guys in there, you go, oh, there's no chance Mabel is going to main event WrestleMania. Of course not, right? Like, and that's what we had. Think about this. You had last year, Damian Priest was coming straight from NXT, making his debut at the Rumble. Like, you had these moments. To me, the best thing in the men's Rumble was not even a wrestler. It was Bad Bunny.
Yep.
Bad Bunny came in and the world went crazy. And I'm like, so wait, we haven't seen you since Mania and you're pulling off stuff better than the folks who are here every week? Like, come on. So to me, it's sad because, the thing is, again, as I said earlier, one of the challenges with wrestling is we have, in any sport, we have to believe that you're a real contender for us to think, okay, this is going to be a matchup that makes sense. Right. So literally with everybody that comes in the ring, you ask yourself, can I see them main eventing the Royal or WrestleMania? And so when you can't say yes to 2/3 of the participants, you've already taken the intrigue out. I know that Madcap Moss is not going to slip on a banana peel and main event WrestleMania. That's not going to happen. Boobs. That's not going to happen. Right. And then the other glaring thing for me is the treatment of Big E. We get into 2022. Roman catches COVID. Big E is no longer valuable. Big E loses the WWE title, doesn't get a rematch, and the night before the Rumble, they announce he is now moved back to SmackDown as part of a tag team in the New Day. Wait, we did all this work to get him away from that. He wins Money in the Bank. We do all of this stuff. He has the Intercontinental title last year. And now, because if you think about what makes sense, it would make sense, okay, if you have Roman and Brock, which was a foregone conclusion before we got into the Rumble match, then the real question here was, who's going to fight Lashley? That's what this whole thing was about. And so when I saw the late number for Big E, I'm like, okay, finally, he'll get his rematch and get his WrestleMania moment. This will be great. And then when he gets dumped out, like, there's not even a big deal about it. Like, it was like, wait, oh, and Big E's out. Wait, what? So for me, I'm like, this highlights why NXT 2.0 is a bad idea, because you don't have anybody there that you can pull from the men or women that can come into the Rumble and make things interesting. Like, we love the idea, that year when Rhea was among the final four and Shayna was among the final four, and they're both NXT people. It's like, wait, something different can happen. But now we don't get that because you got 2.0 and these little guys are playing games and they whatever. You've messed up your own talent pool. And not to mention, what surprise entrance did we get? Shane McMahon? What? It made no sense. And then my other thought is, you opened the forbidden door up on the women's side. Why didn't you do it on the men's side? There were so many options that you could have grabbed. My God, can you imagine if the free agent Leo Rush had shown up? Now, I knew he was in LA, but like, I mean, you have so many options. If Moose showed up, right? Like people would have gone. There were so many options, and it's like the creativity. They just dropped the ball on this, and it's a shame because it's one of our favorite events. But it was like, why?
I mean, to make a final point on this whole Royal Rumble. And we were talking, Gerard, you're talking about NXT 2.0. I'm very surprised because some faces showed up on Raw in the backstage segments or something like that.
Mhm.
Where was Roderick Strong, Bron Breakker, Carmelo Hayes, LA Knight? Even on the women's side, you've got
you got Io Shirai, you got Mandy Rose, you got Raquel Gonzalez. Like you've got people,
right. And it's not even just the simple fact that NXT isn't the same as it used to be. It's still. I think NK made the point in the comments as well, where this show was supposed to bridge the gap, and I believe it does. Or in the way that WWE want it to, at least. Anyway, probably not so much how we want it to, but in the way that they want it to, which is fine. But then you miss a golden opportunity to show that bridge. Where was Bron Breakker? Take out Rick Boogs, throw in Bron Breakker.
Right.
Yes, we know he's not going to win, but at the same time, we're still intrigued to see what Bron Breakker does against the current roster.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
Anyway.
What's even sadder is even before Triple H took over NXT, they would still include NXT people in the Royal Rumble match. And so that's why this is so glaring to me, because it's like, at least we know it's like the young boys getting involved in things in New Japan. Like, they're not going to win, but their presence there gives them an opportunity to be seen on a larger scale. So you mean you don't trust anybody in NXT right now? Not your champion, not your veterans, nobody? And you had NXT pushing the Royal Rumble every chance they got. It's ridiculous, man.
Crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Thank you, Nick Khan.
Move the conversation away from the WWE and bringing it a little bit closer to home for us. Gerard is now kind of being introduced to what is Rev Pro, the OJMO, and Will Ospreay mix. I'm gonna leave you to talk about this one because my envy will kill me right now as Mix went and witnessed what so many people already, and those that were in attendance and have watched either highlights or the show or the match itself, calling it match of the year. It was Will Ospreay, the GOAT, known as the Billy GOAT.
The Billy GOAT.
Against the OJMO at Rev Pro for the Rev Pro Undisputed British Heavyweight Championship. Mex, take the floor. NK is chiming in as well because NK was there. Yeah, I hate you too. Take the
Listen,
floor. Tell me what happened.
The match was so nice. NK had to say it twice. Match of the year, match of the year. Like, honestly, I never thought I would pay, whatever I paid, like 20 quid, which is probably like about $30, to go down to my local York Hall and see a sensational event from top to bottom. Gabriel Kidd, that obviously had this breakout match with Eddie Kingston a couple of weeks ago on New Japan Strong, was on the card. He was fantastic. But the main event, OJMO versus Will Ospreay. And just in the weeks building up to it, I thought, this is OJMO that a lot of us see on the indies and stuff, doing very well, getting his name out there. He's facing a Tokyo Dome main eventer. This guy was IWGP heavyweight champion a matter of weeks ago. Had a match with Okada a matter of weeks ago. And they came and they told the story. Obviously, Will Ospreay he's a world-class heel. I'm sorry. He's brilliant at it. Very aggressive, abusive in his language and everything, but like he gets it. And OJMO is just like the underdog, baby face, everything. Like, from the minute Ospreay came out, he went straight to Oku's family that was sitting front row, stared down Mumsy and everything. I said, this guy, I'm begging he doesn't put hands on Mumsy, because Will Ospreay has no barrier. He has no filter. he displayed this in this match. There was one spot he pushed OGMO out of the ring. OGMO went crashing through a table, drew blood immediately. He continued to smash up his head, wiped the blood from OGMO on himself. Ospreay, at one point, Ospreay's girlfriend, sorry, not Ospreay's girlfriend, OGMO's girlfriend, another wrestler, Amira Blair, what did he do? She threw drink on Ospreay, and Ospreay grabbed her by the hair and pulled her over the barrier, smudged her makeup all over her face. There was lipstick everywhere. OGMO's dad, I don't know if Uncle knew it was a shoot or a work. This guy went beyond the barrier and went for Will Ospreay. You know, OGMO kind of had to get in there and be like, Dad, please. Like, you know, then they got back at it, all fired up. We saw a massive frog splash from OGMO to Ospreay on the outside. And then Ospreay kind of retook control of the match. Continues just beating up OGMO. They nearly threw in the towel. They done the whole, you know, towel spot and everything, pulled it back. Ospreay is just world class. Eventually got the win over a plucky OGMO. But yeah, I felt like this is the kind of thing that they want. Everyone wants to draw this kind of emotion from somebody in wrestling. We had people in the crowd that had never heard of OGMO before this. And I think OGMO knew himself. I've actually got a podcast coming out with him tomorrow. He knew himself that this match was going to change things for him. So much so that after the match, Ospreay tweeted, "This may be the best match I've ever had." And we know the caliber of names Ospreay's wrestled. Dave Meltzer has tweeted since, "Where can I see this match?"
Wow.
He's asked Rev Pro. He's asked Ospreay. They're probably, you know, as we speak, editing the whole show furiously to get it out there because so many people are talking about it. I feel very fortunate that, you know, myself, some other of us was able to see what was definitely a match of the year contender. And the week before I went to Progress, we saw a 6-man, like a 6-pack challenge, full of, it was 6 ethnics. Like 5 black men and 1 Asian man fighting for the #1 contendership for the Progress title. I just feel so proud that, you know, especially since the pandemic has reopened, shows have started again, there's just a lot more shine on black wrestling within the UK. Obviously, we still got a way to go. We still need, especially, you know, just black faces on the posters so that other, you know, black fans know that there's black people wrestling on these shows. But it was it's been such a good 2 weekends. But last Saturday just gone, before the Royal Rumble, getting to see something like that, absolutely incredible. I honestly implore anyone, once they put out that match, please find a way to watch it. Honestly,
if you can't watch it beforehand or before the match is aired on Rev Pros on demand or anywhere else, check out Mex's reaction video on the WrestleManiac UK YouTube channel as well, because even that alone, the footage you managed to makes me feel as if I've watched. I don't even need to watch the match.
Right.
I just already know how good it was.
It was amazing.
So is that what I was gonna say real quickly is what I love so much. Again, was a comment that NK's put in the chat there is, you know, OJMO is the one, not the 2 or 3. He's the one. What I love is, I love it when I'm in a position where I see potential in people, and I've been talking about them for years, months, whatever it is. And when you actually get to see people finally see what you see,
yes,
there's a satisfaction in that I can't even explain. So when everyone else is seeing it, finally seeing the OJMO doing what he's doing, having phenomenal matches with Will Ospreay, because even their match a few months ago was phenomenal as well. That was crazy. So to think that they've even topped that is mad.
I have to say, the one thing I'm just so happy about is that, you know, through Will kind of giving it that cosign of this is my best match ever. Right. Dave Meltzer asking to see the match. I as much as I've still been talking about it since Saturday, I don't feel I need to sell this match to anyone. Right. Because these are the names of our community saying that this is must see. So yeah, like I said, you know, unfortunately, he didn't actually win the undisputed British Heavyweight Championship in the match. Ospreay retained, but like he's made his stamp. Something, you know, special is going to happen for OJMO, Michael Oku following this match.
For sure. And the unfortunate part of all of this, with the encouragement of, you know, you saying all these things, this match being so great, Will Ospreay co-signing, Dave Meltzer wanting to know, so many people talking about it. The underlying frustration now is that people are finally seeing what Black British wrestlers can do. One, why is it taking so long? Two, what are they going to do about it?
Yeah.
So that's partially why I think, you know, shows like this and what you guys are doing is so important. And it's important that there is such a great influx of talent in the industry right now who can really kind of lock arms. You know, it's actually interestingly refreshing to hear what you guys are having as issues on the UK side of the world as we're having here on the US side of the world. Having the opportunity, most of you probably know what I'm doing with Southern Honor Wrestler as one of the commentators there. We get a chance to see a lot of incredible talent that has come through. Some of the talent you guys have now seen on AEW and some other places. You know, Austin Theory was part of SHW and a lot of other folks. You know, well, just last week or so, you know, AC Mack wins the IWTV World Championship, right? He wrestled in the very first SHW match, and he is a regular part of SHW, former SHW champion. He's going to be with us, of course, defending that title this Friday. And to your point about the importance of us banding together to be able to present what we do to the world, it is of extreme importance because, again, you know, this movement that's happening all across the wrestling world with African-American wrestlers, men, women, gay, straight, whatever, is important. Because, again, pro wrestling is a reflection of the larger community. And if the larger community is only highlighting a certain color or certain hue or certain type of presentation, and really there are a lot more of us out there than what's being presented, then it becomes important that we stress that and show the powers that be. No. This is important, and here's why. We're just as good, which is why when we have these conversations about the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania and all these things, it becomes wildly important. When we talked the last time we were together about Tony Khan, that stuff is wildly important. How we are presented is extremely important. And even if people stand on different sides in terms of what happens in front of the camera, behind the camera, you better believe we all want the same thing. And so it's exciting, man, to see what's happening and to see the world starting to pay attention to what the African-American wrestler is doing literally all around the world.
That's very true. You know, it's crazy. Like I'm seeing, you know, some of the reaction videos from Mex being at the shows the last 2 weeks of progress at Rev Pro. And it warms my heart because I'm just like, yo, this is what I wanted to see for so many years. You know what I mean? A group of Black guys, you know, and as frustrating as this is, I think there was a part towards the end of Mex's last video with at Rev Pro where we turned the camera around and everyone was, you know, reacting to the match and all the rest of it, and then he's kind of panned around the arena, and literally the 6 guys that he was with were literally the only 6 Black men in the whole room.
Yeah.
Practically,
There's still so much work for us to do. There's still so much work for us to do as a community, as a fan base, but at the same time to see that group together. Because when I've gone to shows and I've noticed that I'm maybe one of, you know, 3, 4, 5, whatever, we're not together. We're completely separate people.
Right.
Different parts of the room. So yeah, man, it's great to see, as you said, Gerard, you know, all of this stuff is massively important. And it's going to be very difficult, or it's very difficult to work out what the strategy is to show the powers that be why it's so important. Because unless they live our experience, unless they feel our experience, which is almost impossible, how do we then, show that? But I guess, the only way right now is for us to continue doing what we're doing, going to the show, supporting those black talents, creating our content, talking about our experience and why our experience is important and what it means to us. Seeing the likes of an OJMO kind of, come from, the grassroots and being alongside the likes of Will Ospreay. Even with yourself, Gerard, being at SHW and seeing AC Mack and Sean Dean, Carly Bravo, David Ali, all of these guys who've come through that scene there, and go on to bigger things. I mean, even with most of those guys that have gone through SHW, they're also connected to WWA 4, who trained Baron Black, Moose, Apollo Crews, Kiera Hogan, and Jonathan Gresham. You know what I mean? So it's not like we're just some guys in a corner just because we got a bit of time on our hands.
And with that said, the state of Georgia here in the United States, historically has never been friendly to people who look like us. So it is incredible to watch the wrestling community really do what it's doing. And the thing is, this is what's so different. In times past, the way that the territories were set up, it would cause the African-American wrestler to fight for a spot because there could only be one here. So if there were two, they were fighting each other for that one spot in the territory. Now, the guys and the ladies that are coming together, first of all, they all understand the assignment. They understand how necessary it is for us to make a huge difference, to be at the top of the card, to put on the best matches, to have the best promotions and the best production and promos and that type of thing. So because there's that understanding, everybody is working toward the same goal. Everybody is working to make sure that our stuff is the best stuff in the world. Because here's the thing. While we are looking for people that look like us, our counterparts are looking for people they can believe in. They don't care about the color. So our challenge is, as much as we want to appeal to each other, we have to manage to appeal to the larger audience and allow them to see us as valuable. So that's why when we see the Bianca Belairs and the Kofis and the Big E's and those folks having so much success across all of the wrestling world and amongst all the wrestling fans, that's why it's so significant, because we've managed to not just be great for our community, we've been great for the larger picture as well. And when they all can believe in you, then we can go somewhere. Yeah.
Man, and to put a final stamp on all of this as well. I mean, you talk about Georgia, the state of Georgia, and we, from there at the moment, we're seeing Terminus. They're announcing people for their second show. That show just looks crazy, ridiculous.
I'm going to be there, by the way.
Oh man, listen, I'm gonna hate both of you by the end of you lot are going everywhere. But yeah, gonna have Leo Rush, Swerve, and both those guys are coming to the UK. Of course, Jonathan Gresham as well is going to be at Terminus and in the UK over the next couple of months. So, as you said, we're seeing black talent that we love, but also, appeals to the wider community as well, and are breaking those barriers. And just to see UK wrestling at the moment, kind of, being able to open its doors and so much going on again now. So much going on again now is great to see. Our time is done. It was done about 5 minutes ago, but I don't. Folks, this has been WrstlXtra. I'm your boy A Dazzle. This is my tag team partner Mix, and of course, the faction man that is Gerard Bonner. You can find us all. You can see all our links here on the screen. If you're listening, you can find me on Black Wrestling Alliance. You can find Mex, WrestleManiac UK, and Gerard Bonner, The Faction Show, on both Twitter and Instagram. This is our time, and we will see you again, not next week, because we have to have a break, but the week after, we'll be back. Folks, take care and see you later.
Take care, guys.